I started this one 2 years ago. I put it away because I found out this is a French guy, and I didn't have my newspaper subscription back then, and my Ancestry subscription only covers the United States. So I just pulled this one back out to see if there was any further I could go on it. So let's see what I found on this episode of Antique Bottle Stories. Well, I did find a ton of newspaper ads for this, and as luck would have it, on many of these early ones, there's a full story in Gombault's own words. Now this one's dated 1884. It says, I, the undersigned, Eugene Gombault, of Nogent-sur-Marne, Sienne, France. Sorry, I'm not French, guys. Hereby certify that I am the sole proprietor and preparer of this veterinary remedy known in the United States and Canada as Gombault's Caustic Balsam. Originally invented and for many years prepared by my late father, Joseph E. Gombault, deceased, ex-veterinary surgeon to the French government studs. I further certify that I have made under contract June 23, 1880 with Lawrence Williams and Company of Cleveland, Ohio, under 20 years limit, and it goes on to say, I further certify that not one drop of Gombault's Caustic Balsam will be shipped to any other party except Lawrence Williams and Company. And it continues to describe the bottle features, stating that it's an octagon-shaped bottle, label with red background, printed in English, with the signature of Lawrence Williams and Company. Their name is blown into the glass on each side of the bottle. It says he's preparing the formula and shipping it himself. He thanks everyone for buying this preparation, and he signs the bottom. It continues. Basically, it says, we certify this to be the original document of Mr. Gombault, M.J. Lawrence, and M.E. Williams. Well, that pretty much took care of all the work for me, didn't it? Well, I did go look up a few things. Like, I found out that the dad, the inventor of this balsam, Joseph Gombault, died in 1879, which is about 5 years before this ad, and about 1 year before the deal to sell it in the US happened with Lawrence and Williams. I didn't find a birth date for the dad, and I also couldn't find the dates for the son, Eugene, who wrote this. And like I said, I don't have French records. Ancestry has just a very few things that I can view, so I don't know how long the son carried this on before he died, or did he pass it down to the next generation to continue? I don't know. So my next question is, who are Lawrence and Williams? These guys were hard to track down. This was a puzzle, let me tell you. All I had to go on was M.J. Lawrence and M.E. Williams, and no matter how many ads I found, it never mentioned their full names. So it took a really long time to figure out who they were, because when I explored M.J. Lawrence, for example, it only lists him with a publishing company. So I thought I was on the wrong track. But then I thought, let me just explore this Lawrence family. Maybe it's his brother or something that I'm looking for. I came across an M. Lyman Lawrence, who said he worked at Lawrence Publishing Company and was vice president of Lawrence Williams Company. Okay, so I found a connection to the publishing company and the balsam company. So after running around these guys for hours, let me just organize what I found. Okay, so M.J. Lawrence is Mortimer James Lawrence. He was born in 1843. I think he had 3 kids with his first wife and 1 kid with his second wife. So Mortimer founded the Ohio Farmer, which is either a newspaper or an almanac or something along these lines. Here in 1880, I see he's listed himself as publisher and editor. This is the same year that he started being a U.S. dealer for the balsam. Also listed here is his wife, and there's M. Lyman, another son named Mortimer, and it says Hall, but his name is Paul. So I was able to link all 3 of his kids to both of these businesses. Even though the balsam business is the main business we're trying to learn about here, it's rarely mentioned in any of their documents. Their publishing company seems to be their priority. Even in Mortimer's obituary, it never mentions his drug company. It does, however, say that he not only founded the Ohio Farmer, he also went on to found the Michigan Farmer and the Pennsylvania Farmer. It says at some point before he died, he sold off those things to a Senator Arthur Capper of Kansas. Since 1880 is when the balsam began to be sold in the U.S., the first newspaper ads begin in 1880. It lists all the ailments it cures. This 1884 ad says, "We guarantee that 1 tablespoon of this caustic balsam will produce more results than a whole bottle of any other liniment ever made." Then we start seeing the testimonials. "I would sooner be without all other veterinary remedies than caustic balsam in my stables." So here's the 1885 directory. M.J. Lawrence is listed only as editor and proprietor of the Ohio Farmer. But then he's listed down here as proprietor along with M.E. Williams at Lawrence Williams and Company. M.E. Williams is Miles Evans Williams, who also shows up here as an editor. There's also an M.J. Williams, who's also an editor at the Ohio Farmer. So it looks like both of these families worked at both of these companies. Lawrence and Williams must have known each other at the Ohio Farmer, and I'm not sure how they got into the drug dealing business, but they had to have known Gombault somewhere along the line, because why would Gombault pick some random publishers to sell his dad's liniment? By the way, Miles is also married with 3 boys. One of them is named Orange. That's pretty awesome. And here is 1870, 10 years before they started the balsam, and he's a school teacher. But by 1880, he's listed here as an editor. So now we're at 1893. Now, I'm not a horse person, so I don't know what this means. It says, "It's the safest, best blister ever used. Removes all bunches or blemishes from horses or cattle. Supersedes all cautery or firing." So what's blister mean there? Anyways, 1906, we have more testimonials. In 1919, Miles died, and in 1922, Mortimer died. The paper says that Mortimer's estate is estimated at $605,000. And this mentions that Mortimer is the owner of the Crossman Hotel in New York. Now, 2 of Mortimer's sons died before he did. Okay, and this gets confusing because he named 2 of his sons Mortimer. One is Mortimer Lyman, which I see he went by M. Lyman. And then there's Mortimer William. The other sons were named Paul Terry and Marcus J. Well, the 2 sons named Mortimer died before their dad. Mortimer William died first in 1909, and he was only 36. His obituary states that he had taken over as general manager of the publishing company, and at the same time he was vice president of the Lawrence Williams Company. I don't know why he died so young. This 1909 directory shows Mortimer, the dad, president of the publishing company, Mortimer William, vice president, M. Lyman is secretary, Paul Terry is treasurer, and then his last son, Marcus, is only 2 years old at this time. In 1915, this directory shows that after his brother died, M. Lyman was the vice president of the publishing company. So M. Lyman died in 1918 at the age of 48. Can you see a resemblance here? Well, a couple years before M. Lyman died, he bought a 60-foot boat to use in Florida. His obituary said that he had been ill for several years, and dilation of the heart was given as the cause of death. This says that he took over his father's ranch in Colorado. Boy, these guys got around, didn't they? I don't think he had any children either. Since I did all this research, let's go ahead and look at the other brother, Paul Terry. Well, it seems that he was the one who caused the most drama in the family. And he doesn't look anything like his brothers. But here he is with wife number 2, Bertha. His first wife was Clara. They got divorced, and within a year he was with Bertha, who was married twice before. Well, them 2 were together for about 10 years, but that ended pretty ugly. And he says he was through with women. But then wife number 3 was Gwendolyn. And here's a little interesting article. It says, Paul Terry Lawrence, millionaire's son, and former movie actor, that should tell you something there, told how his wife Gwendolyn thwarted the efforts of 5 men who fought to either rob them or kidnap their 14-year-old daughter. It says the 5 men struck Paul with a blackjack and were dragging him into the shrubs, but his wife's screams frightened them away. At the time of this 1938 article, Paul is listed as president-treasurer of the Lawrence Williams Company. It doesn't mention the publishing company here. He also did some time in the military as well. Paul doesn't die until 1961 at the age of 83. Now for the last brother, Marcus, Well, I never seen his name mentioned in anything pertaining to the businesses, and he died at the age of 30. So I see ads for this caustic balsam into the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, a few trickles in the 60s, and then it's gone. There's a 1971 article here that says Gombault's balsam was manufactured in England and imported to E. Fougera, New York from 1899, and then later by Lawrence Williams. Well, those dates are wrong, and that's the first time I've even seen that name. So, my bottle is a blown cork top. It's a really pretty blue. I found some online examples, but they're not as pretty as mine. This one is another blown corker. This one is a screw top. And this one seems to be the most recent out of the ones that I found. And it's being distributed by somebody else. At some point, it was marketed for human use as well. And that's about it for this one. This had a really good 80 or so year run. It must have been pretty good stuff. Well, we'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.